2022 board meeting. Tonight we just have, well, first let's have our young citizens here who are in the back lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If we all can rise, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice job, you guys. Thank you. All right, everyone. Peter is going to make a motion to enter into our first public hearing.
I would make a motion that the Swampscott Select Board, acting as the town's licensing board, will hold a show cause public hearing. Can we just turn down the volume a little bit on this? It's.
Is this on?
We have two.
That's a good point. We'll hold a show cause hearing to hear the following charges regarding all alcohol. Section 15, package store licenses issued to the premises located at 371 Paradise Road, Swampscott, Mass, serving alcohol to a minor on November 16, 2021, as part of the routine Swampscott Police alcohol compliance check. It being 6 p.m., I move to open the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you. Tom McEnany on behalf of the town. We're here tonight on 4 show cause hearings. This is the first one involving Vinton Square Liquors. I would request that anybody who intends to testify in this matter to please rise and raise your right hand to be sworn in this witness. Do you swear that the testimony that you will give in this matter before the Swampscott Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority for the town of Swampscott, will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. I'd ask Ted Delano to take the witness stand over here.
Such as it is, yes.
So, as indicated in the notice, this is a show cause hearing following an alleged violation that took place as part of a compliance check that was conducted by the Swampscott Police Department on November 16th of 2021. First and only witness on behalf of the town will be Detective Ted Delano. So, Detective, could you just state your name and occupation, please?
My name is Detective Ted Delano from the Swampscott Police Department.
And how long have you been a detective?
Take his mic.
Detective, 21 years, on the police department, 31 years.
Okay. What are your duties as a detective with Swampscott PD?
We do criminal follow-ups for different events that happen within the community. I also investigate family offenses, and part of the overall responsibilities are overseeing the designee from the Board of Selectmen in regards to liquor license enforcement.
Okay, and did you conduct or oversee a compliance check on November 16th of 2021?
I did.
Oh, any other officers from Swampscott Police Department participate?
Detective Sergeant Locke and Detective Doyle.
And have you conducted compliance checks on behalf of the town of Swampscott Police Department in the past?
I have.
And for how many years approximately have you been doing those?
I would say roughly 14 years.
You're familiar with the ABCC guidance concerning compliance checks?
I am.
Okay. How many, with respect to the compliance check that you did on November 16th, how many establishments did you visit in town on that evening?
I believe we visited 13.
Okay. And how many were found to be in violation?
4.
And can you describe the procedures that you followed with respect to the compliance check, beginning at, before you went out into the field on that evening?
Each year by law, within the first week of January, usually first or second week in January, we have to post and stamp it in at Town Hall that we do compliance checks. With that posting, we have to notify the press, which we do, and we send it out on Facebook. And the past year, Angelica Noble has mailed those compliance check notifications It's posted at the town hall as well and in the lobby of the police station.
And that's one of the requirements of the ABCC's guidelines with respect to compliance checks?
It is.
Okay. And then with respect to the check that was performed in November, did you identify an underage person to work with the Swampscott Police Department in this matter?
I did.
Okay, and can you describe just generally what the person looked like?
At the time, he was 16 years of age. He had a full-length or maybe shoulder-length length of hair. I believe he had minimal facial hair. He had on he was wearing blue jeans and a sweatshirt.
Did he look roughly his age of 16 in your view?
He did.
Okay. And so before you went out into the field, what do you do in terms of your involvement with the underage individual who you were working with?
With the individual, the minor would come to the police station, would meet his parents. We would go over a release which would be signed by the parent and the child. And then we would instruct him, after taking a picture of him, we would instruct him what exactly we want him to do for us in regards to the compliance check. We would secure any personal belongings, any cash, his cell phone. He would have no ID on him at all, and we would give him currency to purchase the alcohol as well.
Do you also give him a breathalyzer test before he goes out in the field?
Yes, Sergeant Locke gave the minor a portable breathalyzer test before we went out on the compliance check and after, at the completion of it.
Okay, and is it correct that it registered 0, essentially, that there was no alcohol in the system before and after?
Correct.
Okay. So when you went to the first establishment here, Vin Square Liquors, what happened? Can you describe the process, the procedures and protocols that you follow?
We speak to the minor. The minor was in the car that I was operating in. Detective Sergeant Locke and Detective Doyle were in another car, and we make sure that we have eyes on the individual at all times. At every establishment that the minor would go into, we ask the minor to purchase a Bud Light can at every establishment, and we have a field minimum age compliance check field report that Detective Doyle completed in regards to the time entered, the time exited, if alcohol was purchased. There's a series of steps in regards to the completion of the form.
Okay, and in this particular instance, with respect to Vin Liquors, he, and you observed him enter the premises, he ordered, what'd you say it was he ordered a beer, is that correct?
He got a Bud Light can and went to the register with it.
Okay. And he was not carded,
Correct.
and then he left the premises, and then what happens then?
Once we secure the receipt from him, we ask him to describe the person that had sold the alcohol in to him. And in this case, we went back in and identified the person that sold the alcohol beverage, and eventually had some conversation with the owner of the establishment.
And is that a conversation that you had with the owner?
Yes.
Okay, and what was can you describe the nature of that conversation?
The family's been in town for a long time. I've known the family for many, many years. I informed them that we had performed a compliance check, and alcohol was served to a minor, and that we would be in touch the following day. She was very
Okay. Was there any
important.
dispute that the event took place?
At that time, no.
Okay. And you indicated that there was a field report that was prepared by Detective Doyle, is that correct?
Correct.
Approach it with-
Thank you.
You mind if I ask a question? Do you mind if we just have parties introduce themselves. We don't know who's here for this matter and who's not here for this matter, so it would help if we could just,
Sorry.
let me say this on behalf of the current licensee, who's here on behalf of the current licensee?
Angela Mansara, Liquors.
Andrew Upton, counsel for Van Liquors.
Great, and do they have microphones? And can I just ask a second question, which is, can I just ask generally speaking, are the facts in dispute here? Or if the facts aren't in dispute, is there a way in which we can not go through this because we can hear from them and hear what they have to say and skip this if the facts aren't in dispute? Or do you believe we have to establish the full record for each because they...
In the event of an appeal, I thought it was necessary to at least establish it.
Can I ask it differently?
Try to
If there is the openness to an agreement and a resolution, that would negate the ability for an appeal, right? And so has there been a conversation with, is that okay, I'm asking this question?
Yep.
Sure.
Has there been a conversation about that, and is that prospect real? In which case, it negates the need to be doing all this.
I have had a conversation.
Am I asking
So,
okay?
sure. So I have had a conversation with Attorney Upton. I don't believe that there's any dispute with respect to that the violation took place. Ultimately, it's obviously the board's call with respect to whatever the appropriate penalty would be, if any. So there has not been any conversation with respect to a penalty other than brief conversation that I've had with the
Right.
chair concerning what the nature of a compliance check is and the options that generally would apply under these circumstances.
Peter, he's answering your question.
No, I heard it, I got it. Okay.
So here's the thing, I mean, if we stipulate, for the board has to vote on a consequence if there is one. So that can't happen through stipulation without a public meeting. And we won't know what we're stipulating to because we can't get facts unless we have a public meeting, which means we have to
Right.
do this whole thing.
But we can settle it
We can
without,
stipulate to facts if that's.
but we
what
can
you're-
settle without having a public hearing, meaning that we could.
No,
No.
But we're in a public hearing right now.
that's what I'm saying. So
Right.
we're a
So-
board,
so
right? We have to
The
be,
board will have to determine.
we're one
The
body.
parties can certainly agree to stipulate that a violation took place. Ultimately, the board's going to determine what the penalty is, so there would be a vote with respect to that.
I understand
So
that.
we
I'm
can
trying-
stipulate, listen, we can stipulate to the facts, and then the board can deliberate based on those facts. But we can't make an informed decision on a consequence without hearing facts. So whether we do it this way, or you guys had agreed to some written statement of facts, I don't see another way of doing it. Because we can't stipulate outside of a public meeting, because we're one person, we're one body.
No, I understand, but we can right now be talking about what would be a mutually agreed to resolution. In public hearing, we can talk about that.
After we hear the facts.
But we don't actually need the facts if we reach settlement, is what I'm saying. I just
Well, there
don't,
would be a stipulation as to the facts, correct. If the
I'm just,
license holder is willing to stipulate that the violation took place,
that's
we can certainly-
literally all I'm trying to get to.
we can certainly move to the next phase, yes.
Yeah, that doesn't avoid this hearing.
Are you willing to stipulate to the facts that the violation happened?
We are willing to stipulate to the facts with the condition that we are allowed to make a statement to the board regarding the circumstances and the history.
I think this is just gonna take longer, but, so what I think,
Saves the detective from going through the whole,
I mean, one thing we can
9/10 there.
do is,
on every one of these.
as council, you decide what's best, if you wanna do it through a question, if you wanna make the statement on his behalf, or if you just wanna say a summary, and then if they wanna stipulate to the general facts, and then kind of state their, I forget what you said, I'm sorry. You wanted to what? Have an opportunity?
We'd like to tell the board about our practices, our protocol, our history in the town, which I would keep quite brief.
Okay, what do you
So
think?
if In light of the stipulation that the violation took place, I have no further questions for Detective Delano. I do have a couple of exhibits that I would request.
Yes, we should have those,
evidence,
yeah.
But I don't see any further reason to question Detective Delano in light of the stipulation. So you have three documents that I wanted to give the board for consideration.
So I'm sorry, the material facts that we need to be aware of and that you want to get on the record is that there was an
alcohol compliance check on November 16th, 2021, at which the license holder served a underage individual alcohol without checking for ID.
Okay. Yep.
Which is obviously a
Okay. And do we need to get some verbal, like, or is that good?
I believe that she already has agreed that that is the case, that there's no dispute with respect to the facts.
We will stipulate to those facts.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank
And
you.
then I have three documents that I wanted to submit as an exhibit. One is a notice of violation that the police department issued to Vin and Liquors.
Okay.
One is the compliance check field report that Detective Delano referenced, and one is the receipt from the
Great.
purchase.
And does council have a
copies
copy?
for council, I do, yes.
Okay, thank you. If you have these. Okay, so with respect to the, and stop me, Attorney McEnany, if necessary, with respect to the first question, do we find that a violation occurred? The board, obviously, in light of the facts, agrees that a violation occurred, and then the next is what the appropriate penalty would be, but before we get there,
So, yeah, there's really three votes that the board would take. One is to find whether or not a violation occurred. The second is to adopt findings in support of the board's decision, which can be as simple as that the board adopts as findings of fact in support of its decision that the facts found in the notice of violation that was just submitted, the minimum age purchase law compliance check field report, which was also submitted, as well as the testimony of Detective Delano, and in this case, the admission of the license holder to the violation.
okay,
And then the third vote that the board would take would be to vote on a penalty. And again, I know you and I, as well as Sean and some others, had some conversations about this. So with respect to...
just hold on 1 second, and I just
Okay.
want you to know, thank you for your patience.
Sure.
And this is just an intro, and we will hear from you after that. We won't skip over that, don't worry.
Right.
Sorry. keep-
Okay, and as we discussed, that the purpose of a compliance check in accordance with the ABCC guidelines is educational in nature. It's designed really to educate license holders in town with respect to their responsibilities concerning service to individuals who appear or may appear to be underage. It's not really designed to impose any kind of significant penalties. The town's past practice with respect to these types of incidents, and I've handled several hearings in the past with Detective Delano. The general kind of range of penalties has been written reprimand for any establishments that have had prior violations, 1-day suspension. And so that's generally kind of how the board has handled them in the past. Doesn't necessarily mean it's binding on this board by any stretch, but that's what the ABCC guidance is, that these are really designed to be educational in nature and not really punitive.
Mm-hmm. And in fact, there was, a recent decision, or a decision where a municipality had suspended a business for 5 days, and that was appealed, and the ABCC overturned it, right? Like, so just as an example, a counterexample to what?
I know, like, for example, in one of the establishments, this is going back probably 7, 8 years or so, I would guess at this point, one of the establishments that did receive a 1-day suspension appealed that to the ABCC. The ABCC actually found in the licensee's favor and felt that a one-day suspension was inappropriate, even though in that instance they did have some prior, at least one prior violation. The town ended up, essentially imposing a one-day suspension over the ABCC's objection, and ultimately the license holder appealed that to Superior Court. We won ultimately in Superior Court, but it was a rather
That's a lot for a day.
lengthy undertaking for a one-day suspension.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on sort of like legal overview of the penalties that you feel is
No, that's generally, like I said, it's, the ABCC guidance is very clear that this is really designed to be educational. That's the purpose of a compliance check. In talking to Detective Delano, I don't believe that any of the establishments that are going to be coming before you tonight, and including Vin and
Yeah, that was
Liquors,
my only other question. Yeah.
has any prior violations, or certainly if they have, they haven't been any in any recent history.
Is that, you confirm that? That's true?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, great. So why don't we hear from Vin and Liquors and then, attorney, sorry, I'm like in court all the time.
It's okay.
Chief Kurz.
Thanks. Just between 2 and 3, if I can make a statement. When you get there.
I think we're there.
Okay,
right?
then I'd like to
Are we
make a
there?
statement if we could. As you know, the interim police chief, Dave Kurz. So one of the things I was pleased when I arrived here was that this was the philosophy of the department, was to educate and to detect these problems that existed. So I was pleased to see that upon arrival. And one of the things that's going to be happening on March 10th is a training session that we've invited all of the licensees in the community to attend, because we want the businesses to be successful. We want them to prosper in the town, and we're not there to ensure anything other than that happens in a legal fashion. So I just wanted to re-emphasize what may be the obvious, but let you know that I was pleased to locate that when I was here. We did one more thing that I'll provide to the board, is that we wrote a letter to, essentially the same letter to all the people who successfully passed, saying congratulations to you.
I saw that, that's
Yeah, I just wanted to make it part of the record, because I think it's important that, we're trying to do, support them, and that, they ought to be recognized. If we're quick to criticize, we should be quick to praise.
Right. No, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
You can go right ahead. Just restate your name if you would, please, and who you are. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Andrew Upton from Upton, Connell, and Devlin, 112 Water Street in Boston, for the licensee. Just a few minor points I want to make is that the owner, Angela Ansara, who is a longtime business owner and Swampscott native, is here to take responsibility for this violation. Vinin has a strong written compliance program. I have some copies and examples that I will submit for the record. They card everyone under 40. Any out-of-state ID must be verified by a manager. And in this case, it appears that one employee made a mistake. This employee signed all of the training materials. She knew exactly what she was supposed to do. She was a nice person who was working hard. In fact, she was a teacher in the local system, working part-time to make extra money, and ownership felt kind of bad about firing her, but they had to be consistent with their policies, and they use that as a deterrent to other employees. So Angela is here to say a few words. I would just like to say she's made some, we believe this was a one-off sort of unique circumstance, but notwithstanding that, she has made some strong remedial efforts, retraining some of the staff, talking to all the managers, just to make sure that we're doing everything we can to prevent this from happening again.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I'm a little under the weather. I'm Angela Ansara, and I want to sincerely apologize to the board for this incident. It is absolutely unacceptable, and I'm a little embarrassed, to say the least. The manager on duty called me immediately upon this happening. And obviously, the person was fired immediately. We always work to make sure we are compliant with IDs. It's a consistent thing. I have just more enforced. We have a cell phone policy, but I've more enforced that there's no more cell phones allowed at the register at all. Can't have any distractions. So we have a one-strike policy. If it happens, that's it. So we do as much as we can. We are attending that town meeting coming up next, the alcohol training next week. And we are trying to be up to the latest with what needs to be done, being a retail establishment. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And just to clarify, when you say we are attending, is it you and a manager, like, or just a couple people? Yep.
We have different shifts, but I have one of my younger managers attending.
Okay.
Usually what they'll do is come back and they'll share the information, we'll have a big meeting.
Okay, great,
So all are compliant with what's going on.
great, thanks. Am I missing a step, other than the options?
Unless Attorney Upton had anything further to add, I think at this point, the next step would be to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
Correct.
And then the board would then deliberate. The first motion would be whether or not a violation took place. The second would be to adopt findings in
Right.
support of that decision. And then the third would be the penalty phase.
Okay, so I don't have to move to close the evidentiary portion, right? Just say it?
I think you can just say it.
Okay, just wanted, who knows? All right, so that will conclude the evidentiary portion of the hearing. And then, is there a motion to find that a violation occurred on the date and at the establishment established?
So moved.
Here. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, all agree? Aye, okay. And then, I guess we just need to talk about, I'm personally fine with the one-day training.
So the other thing, Madam Chair, is that just to adopt specific findings with respect to the...
I thought we did that.
I thought you just had said that the violation took place, so you just need to specifically say that you're relying, what the facts are that you're relying
So,
Okay.
I'm just gonna ask one more time, because we have 3 more of these to do.
on. I know.
If we have an applicant taking responsibility, and then we're gonna openly say, are you open to the fact that your mandatory attendance to the March 10th training is that is the remedy, right? Are you amenable to that? Do they agree to that? And they agree to that. Can't we just have the 2 attorneys sign something? It's not appealable, it's done, and we're not going through all this rigmarole. I'm just trying to get to, I think this board.
No is the answer, I think.
I think this board agrees with the remedial impacts, like the remedy here is not to be punitive, right? I want to say something more about that in a second, but to go through this and have something that we're now creating a judgment, a decision that's appealable when we know no one's going to really go through rigmarole, I'm just,
correct me if I'm wrong. There is no way around what we're doing.
We did discuss this.
Yes, we cannot stipulate and find a violation. We cannot stipulate that there was a violation and a penalty. That's not possible, right?
Correct, you have to have a hearing.
Right.
so how about we don't find a violation and we just settle the thing without making a determination of a violation? I mean, what's the impact of doing that? I mean, I'm just trying to,
I think that ship has sailed. We're here.
well, but we have 3 more. That's all, I'm just trying to, okay,
There was a
let's,
determination by the town to move forward with a hearing, and so we are here.
awesome. To quote Sean Fitzgerald, awesome.
Okay, so in terms of you want findings of fact?
So,
Is that-
you just,
Yeah,
in this case, obviously, the license
fine.
holder has admitted to the violation. There have been several exhibits submitted. The board would
yes.
could vote to adopt those in support of its...
Okay, is there a motion to adopt the exhibits that Attorney McEnany entered into evidence, and also Attorney Upman with the policies from the Vin and Square Liquors?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And And is there a motion to enter into the facts? Is this?
No,
fine?
that's it. I think you did that at this point.
Okay,
The next
so we can rest
question
on the
is-
documents. We're done.
Right. I
Okay,
think yes, exactly. The
All
next
right.
question is just what's the appropriate penalty?
okay. I think, a detective, I would be happy to hear from you. My sense is that, that one-day training that the department is offering is sufficient.
I would agree. It's a good opportunity to have some hands-on training.
Great.
for the establishment.
Okay, great. Any other comments or questions about that?
This is a policy that maybe think for the town. Can the town create a policy where we agree that going forward, we deal with first-time offenders a certain way, if there's an agreement? Like, we can avoid the show cause if, the recommendation will be not do a show cause to the select board if the applicant agrees to ... And that's how we can resolve these short of a show cause.
To not hold a hearing, is what you're saying?
Well, we made a determination to do a show cause. We could have not had a show cause.
Sure.
Right.
Ultimately, it's discretionary for the board.
Right,
whether to
so
have a
could
hearing
we,
or not.
if we had a policy in effect, before we made the decision to have the show cause hearing, if we had a policy that said first-time offenders, first time, that's it. This is the remedy, and if you agree to the remedy, applicant, the board won't do a show cause.
We cannot,
Yeah, I'd have to think about that specifically, whether that's an appropriate policy that would be legal, but, I mean, you have the discretion as a board to not have it. You could have violations that take place, and ultimately, it's the board's call whether or not to have a hearing.
No, I hear you, but it's so I'm just,
I just think if we're frustrated by the time, I think it's a policy discussion that we can have, but as, right now, there's no option for that. And we also voted as a board to hold these hearings.
so we
Previously,
are spending time with town council and money, time for the applicant and their counsel, time for the police chief, time for the detective. We're all here a second night this week. Yes, we voted for the show cause, totally agree. But if we're going to treat first-time offenders by saying, go to a training that's already been scheduled,
But can we
That's-
just, can we put that as an agenda item or something? Can we not do that now? Because it's just, we're here for the hearings. Can we discuss it at a future meeting?
I'm good.
So we're all set with this one?
Yes, I don't have anything further.
We haven't voted on discipline.
Okay. Well, is there a motion to, didn't we? No, I think so.
No, we
Okay.
didn't.
Is
No.
there a motion, go ahead.
Oh, motion to approve the recommendation of Detective Delano for the one-day training session on March the 10th,
2022.
2022.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm gonna take that as an aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank
I
you.
just like to say, I appreciate your store policy is to fire the clerk, but the irony is the clerk would be the one to best benefit from the training, and the clerk's not there anymore. And so it's your policy, but I also think it would be frankly more productive if we actually, for first-time offenders, said, make sure that clerk is getting the training, right? Because, as opposed to being punitive for that one person. Stuff happens, it happens. For a first-time offender, I just feel as though firing them and then requiring this training is just a slight miss. It just feels like we're missing the opportunity to train the person that needed the training.
Excuse me, can I speak? If it was a full-time employee, we would invest more time in doing that. But with someone working 10, 15 hours,
I understand it may be a company thing for you, for sure. It's totally your decision, but I also want to make sure that we help you give that employee a chance to correct behavior, because we don't want it to be punitive.
All set.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you for coming and taking the time. Thank you. Thank you, Detective, even though you're not going anywhere.
I do want to just mention that we, Attorney McEnany and I, did have significant conversations about how can we expedite this process? How can we turn this into more of a constructive meeting? We had talked about maybe a Friday morning meeting down at the police department, something that would be administratively faster and help us really just ensure that we had the important conversation about alcohol and our youth and just met the importance of that responsibility. And
But yeah,
unfortunately, with the due process here, we have to comply with
Yeah.
the legal due process. And it was made clear to us that we have to go through this rigor. So,
I mean, it's a formality, and we're doing the formality. We didn't create the law. So, and the other thing is, this is a first violation where we don't want to be punitive, but I think, this is a one way to, accountability does deter future action, and it also creates a paper trail, so to speak, if there's, violations in the future, so. It's an incremental thing, so hopefully not, that never applies, but if it does, then it's helpful, so. Okay, so we have to vote to enter, okay, do you want to make a
Swampscott Select
motion?
Board, acting as town's licensing board, will hold a show cause. I move to open the show cause hearing to hear the following charges regarding an all-alcohol Section 12 on-premises license issued to premises located at 450 Paradise Road, Swampscott, Mass., serving alcohol to minor on November 16th, 2021, as part of a routine Swampscott Police Department alcohol compliance check. It being after 6:30, move to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, great. So this is with respect to Bertucci's restaurant, right? Attorney McEnany?
Yes, it is. Is there someone from Bertucci's here? I would just ask that anybody who's going to testify in this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. You're already sworn. Do you swear that the testimony that you'll give in this matter before the Swampscott Select Board, acting as the local licensing authority, with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So you got that.
Can we just, sorry,
Yes.
can you just, do you have a microphone? Can you just identify yourselves by name and sort of role? Sorry.
Is this on?
It's automatically on. You don't need to, if you push it, it mutes it.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, we good?
Yep.
Okay. My name's Elizabeth Pisano. I'm from Upton, Connell, and Devlin Council on behalf of Bertucci's. And then with me this evening is Frankie Ritchie's. He is the area manager, and the manager of record, Juan, is also with me as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. So I think perhaps in light of.
Yes, I was just going to ask that.
Maybe the first appropriate question to ask is whether or not the license holder disputes that the violation took place.
We do not.
Okay, so that kind of short circuits that aspect of it. So.
My one other question, some of the introductory information that was from the prior hearing, I think that applies to all. Do we have to repeat that because it's a different hearing technically?
I don't think we need to, you would technically, but I don't think we need it in light of the admission that a violation took place. So the only thing I would.
Well, I thought they didn't admit that just now.
They did.
I thought you said, do you acknowledge that a violation took place? She said, we do not.
I thought you said, do you stipulate?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, oh, okay, great. So, can we just, can we vote on that, and then you read the facts, the summary of facts, they agree, and we vote to enter those?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Can we move now to agree that a violation occurred?
Sure.
And then you read a summary of the facts that they then agree to, and then we vote to approve that with whatever you introduce?
I would,
It just seems streamlined, that's all.
if that's how you'd like to.
Okay,
I think
you
that's
just,
fine
you
with
direct me, it's
No,
fine.
that's fine with, it's up to you as the chair. It's your call. You can, if that's how you want to do it, you can certainly do it that way.
So, I think we just heard that they stipulated that a violation occurred. So is there a motion to find that a violation occurred?
We would like to make a few comments if.
Of course, all right, we'll wait.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so in light of the admission that the violation took place, the only other evidence that I would like to ask the board to consider are three documents. One is a notice of violation that was issued by the Swampscott Police Department to Bertucci's. The second is the minimum age purchase law compliance check field report, which details the specific facts concerning this matter. And the third, I'm sorry, is the receipt from the purchase.
Thank you. We have these in our packet, just that doesn't look related, but, okay. Okay,
Thank you.
Do you need to see these? I know, I just,
I have no further questions or evidence to submit.
okay. So,
might be a
has
bit-
everyone here been able to, including, council and the parties and us, the board, been able to review the notice of violation for Bertucci's, dated 11/17/21, the minimum purchase law compliance field check report dated 11/16/21, and the receipt dated 11/16/21? Has everyone had a chance to review that?
Yep.
Okay. So, do you want to make a statement now before we vote on anything?
Yes. if
Okay,
please.
go right ahead.
So we just wanted to say that we do take full responsibility for what has happened and apologize to the board. Bertucci's has been in the town for 30 years now, and this is their first time having a violation. They take this very seriously and have implemented new policies and procedures for all the staff. I won't go through every single detail, but just some major points is they've retrained everybody, and they speak with each staff member before both the lunch and dinner shift. They have them read the policy, the alcohol service policy, and every employee signs it before the lunch and dinner shift. So every single time they have a new shift, they read it and they sign it. Another thing is their POS systems have been updated so that when it's on like an idle screen, it's a reminder of what the policy is, how to check IDs, what the age is, and just constant reminders. And when they go to enter a drink order, they must put in a date of birth. So if the date of birth doesn't line up and they're underage, they won't even be able to order a drink. So those are two really strong points to help them from preventing this from happening again. Another thing is they always send out frequent reminders via email to staff, just as reminders, and keep it top of their heads of exactly what they need to do to ensure proper alcohol service and checking IDs. And they have already committed to going to the March 10th training. So they will be in attendance for that. So there's no issue with them wanting to and attending that.
Great.
And
Can I
then,
just clarify who, to Peter's point, who is they?
so both Frankie and Juan, the manager of record and the area manager, they'll both be attending. And they told me that they were attending even before we were here this evening. So,
Okay, great.
yep.
Thank you. Anything else, because I feel like I interrupted you.
No, I'll let Frankie just say a couple of things.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. We sincerely apologize for the event that happened on that night in November. You know, Bertucci's has been a proud member of the Swampscott community for over 30 years, and we definitely take serving alcohol to the community as a privilege, not a right. So we sincerely apologize. We'll be in attendance on the meeting on the 10th, and thank you for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you. Okay, so is there,
No.
Yeah.
I have nothing further.
yeah, okay, perfect. Is there a motion to find that a violation occurred?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, is there a motion to accept the documents submitted by Attorney McEnany with respect to Bertucci's and resting on the facts that are on the record and then that are contained in these documents?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And with respect to a consequence, proposals, motions?
I would just like to ask, is the employee still employed with Bertucci's?
No, she is not.
This seems to be a theme. All right. I would, going forward, if the employee is employed, I would like to encourage that the employee be the one that's with a manager is the one that goes through the training, because I want to support the employees and the employees learning. Do that, but it's not the case here, so,
I think if they end up not firing them, we could require
right.
them to go.
Yeah, I would motion to approve training session for March 10th, 2022 as a remedy.
Okay. The managerial staff
Yep.
that are present. Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
So, oops, I didn't close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
All right, very closed.
But now I'm doing it. And so that closes that public hearing. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Glad we kind of kept it short for you. So.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Aren't they next?
I think they're here, so.
Can't start till 7.
We can't, we gotta wait till 7.
Anyone have, Ally, bust out a tune. You got
I
10
did
minutes.
prepare a song, my final
I was gonna say, how could you leave without?
performance.
Do you have a song, Ally?
Oh,
If we got a karaoke machine?
I have an idea. How about we spend 10 minutes talking about policy for alcohol licenses?
It's not on an agenda.
Well, we're talking about alcohol licenses. That's, seems to be on agenda. I mean, you said you wanted not to use time, and this is, now we have 9 minutes of dead air. So I would appreciate it if we could ask town council then to examine ways in which we can, for first-time offenders, create a non-adjudicatory process that makes us comfortable, if some facts are stipulated, makes us comfortable deciding not to do a show cause hearing, and has them, instead of spending time and lots of money for some of these small businesses, lots of money to come here, right, to say they're sorry to us for something that it happens a lot, it doesn't make it right, but I also don't want it to be, I know our penalty may not be punitive, but the whole action of being here tonight is a bit punitive if all we're going to do is educate. So I've just asked that we further explore if there's something we can do, because I get we don't make the rules, but if there's a way in which to streamline things and not make businesses worry and not make businesses show up for a first-time offense, I just think that's a really good way to act with our neighbors.
Sure.
Back
Yeah, certainly look into it. Obviously, if the board is intending to have a show cause hearing, then, you know, this is the process. If the board wants to not have a show cause hearing, you know, then I guess certainly could do that, and there might be a way to administratively handle something through the police department so that it never comes to the board.
Except that, I don't know, I can imagine a first-time violation that's egregious and shouldn't go through that policy.
But we make a policy then, we deal with those mitigating factors, but
Yeah,
I think,
and
I'm
It just
envisioning a
seems like
policy.
more work. If we're
Sure.
talking time of staff and
Right.
council.
And I have actually prepared draft licensing board guidelines for the town of Swampscott. I did it originally years ago. I don't believe the board ever adopted it, and I did send them again to Sean fairly recently, so.
I did
certainly
share
be
those with the
reviewed.
board.
So I think as though, I
Let's
hear.
put it on an agenda
I
then.
hear you about the time, but for example, if the police department, when we are determining about doing an adjudicatory hearing, if the police department, in the context of their analysis, came to us and say, this is a first-time offender, we don't recommend an adjudicatory proceeding because the applicant has agreed to do a mandatory training, then if they, using their filters and say, well, this is there was a drunk driving accident as a result of that, the person was underage, got drunk and got in an accident, maybe that's a mitigating factor. You'd say this is not one that should avoid a adjudicatory. Detective Delano comes and says, hey, in my experience, this is one that needs a hearing. But if we create a policy that allows the police department maybe to filter these and come to us with a more informed recommendation to us, we won't then generically just say yes to adjudicatory hearings.
I think that is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that is what we're doing. They discussed it and the option was we do nothing or we have a hearing, like, I don't know. It just seems like that was already, the informality was already made, which is why we're here, right?
No, it wasn't made that way. The way was, does the board want to, there are these violations, does the board want to do a hearing? The police department never chimed in. I've never heard from the police department saying, have a hearing, don't have a hearing. I heard it come to us and say, these are violations. They want to know whether or not we want to have a hearing, and we decided to have a hearing.
He was here on Zoom at the meeting, right? Am I misremembering this? We had meetings.
Yes. And historically, the only options on the police department end would be whether the violation is going to stay home or go into town. And I've always been instructed to make sure it stays at home, and then they can appeal it to the ABCC.
So, right, if there was a violation and you guys just had an agreement that they would go, there's nothing in the file saying there's a violation. Because in order for there to be a stipulation, that has to come to the board, right?
Right, ultimately, the board is the local licensing authority, so you could have, if the board had a policy that they didn't want certain things to come up before the board for a show cause hearing. I
But
guess
would
you could
that-
have
would that-
policy, but-
I wouldn't want to do that if it avoided a record, so that if there was a violation that we wanted to have a show cause hearing for, that wouldn't be the first violation. And then we'd be stuck saying, actually, wait, there was this agreement we had 3 years ago where you did the same thing, it was the same employee, and they're like, yeah, but that's not on any record. So,
Well, it would certainly be able to be brought before the board as evidence from the, in this case, it was to the detective.
testimonial
Yes,
evidence.
exactly. So, but yeah, there would be testimony from a police department to say.
But if they appealed it, that's
This is what our
not,
files show with respect to this particular establishment.
from a legal perspective, it doesn't seem as clean, which I get,
No, I understand.
yeah. But I'm happy to talk about it further, or for the next 3 minutes.
Well, I would just like the board to be able to do billable hours then, if we're gonna come do these things. How much do the attorneys make? Because I would also like to bill. I hear you, I'm just trying to streamline. This is just, you know,
It's just that this was already done, like, we did it.
I understand,
Like,
but
I
we're usually.
had those meetings, then we came and we put those meetings, and
But
now we're bringing it
I'm
up.
not trying to remedy tonight because we're already here making the sacrifice and bringing kids and missing things to be here, right? It's not really about tonight. It's actually about, because we have to wait until the clock goes around for all these different ones. It's about the future, which is if we want our police department enforcing, I think we want to do it in a way that also doesn't bury us in enforcement hearings. I want them to enforce, but at the same time, I kind of don't want them to enforce if I have to spend 2 hearings, you know, and we got to spend 3 hours, and there's staff that's been out 2 nights in a row. We talked about quality of life, things of that nature. I just want to explore the possibility of finding a streamlined process.
That's fine. That's different than criticizing this one, which we arrived at through a lengthy discussions. I mean, this was been on the table for a while, so we can talk about it, and again, I'm happy to put it on the agenda, but I'm sorry, frustrated that you have to,
I couldn't be happier to be here tonight.
that shows.
Aside from the half-hour wait in between each hearings, I'm happy. But I just think we've been talking, Sean, for years about figuring out how to, if I had a magic wand, the town administrator would be able to do this stuff. It's the ABCC, it's ludicrous how the state has layered this bureaucracy.
Candid, I think this is something the police department alone can handle.
I totally agree.
I
believe-
think our police
I
chief,
totally agree on
I
that.
think our detective, and frankly, our entire department does a great job helping people understand the consequences of, of an abuse of alcohol. Like, this is important. Alcohol, is a real challenge for our youth, and I don't want to trivialize the importance of this conversation tonight. However, we don't need to have it, on a weeknight. This could be handled right down at the police station in a context, sensitive way. Our businesses are important to us. They have struggled over the last couple of years during the pandemic. They are challenged, and they need to know that this is important to us, but I fully trust that they can, find ways to be vigilant.
All right, can I make a motion? 7 o'clock.
Please do.
Move to open the public hearing, acting for the Swampscott Select Board, acting as the licensing board, will hold a show cause public hearing to hear the following charges regarding an all alcohol Section 15 package store license issued to the premises located at 205 Burrell Street, Swampscott, Mass., serving alcohol to a minor on November 16, 2021, as part of a routine Swampscott Police Department alcohol compliance check.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, hi.
Hello.
What's your name, please?
Wen Wu, I'm the owner of Burrow Street Liquor.
Okay.
And on the 16th of November, it was I who inadvertently sold a beer to a minor, and I accept full responsibility.
Microphone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You don't have to repeat that, but we do want to get you a microphone.
Oh, okay, so I need to go then?
No, you don't have to repeat it, but they'll bring it to you. Are you counsel for, no?
No, I'm by myself.
Okay, great. Okay. See, Peter, is that better? No. Oh, I'm not going there. Okay, so, thank you. Do you have any,
I have no questions in light of the
Yeah.
admission by the license holder. The only documents, again, that I'd like to submit in this matter are the same documents that I submitted in the other matters, which are the notice of violation, that was issued to Yan's China Bistro by the police department following the incident, as well as the minimum age purchase law compliance check field report that was completed by Detective Doyle at the time when the incident occurred, and the receipt from the purchase that was made.
Wait, I think we're, I think we're confusing, this was
Borough
Borough
Street.
Street
Oh, I'm
Liquors.
sorry, I'm sorry, my mistake. I thought that Yan's was the next one on the list.
I just recognized you because I
My
shot there.
apologies. I thought he,
I'm like, oh, this is
I
Burroughs.
thought the license holder indicated that he was from Yan's China Bistro. So, same thing, same documents with respect to this matter.
Yep.
The notice of violation that was issued to Borough Street Liquors, a copy of the field report that was prepared by Detective Doyle, and the receipt from the purchase that was made.
Great. Okay, so, great. Is there anything further? You do not have to. I just wanted to give you the opportunity before we,
No, I admit it was my fault. It was rushing. Just want to get customers in and out, and could have been more careful and will be more careful.
yeah?
And myself and another employee who was not there at that time, will attend the a training session next week.
Okay, great. And are you going to be able to keep your business open during those hours?
Well, we open at 11. I'm going to ask Angelica to let us leave around 10:45. So I'll email you. So and then so we can open the shop at 11 o'clock.
Okay, we can leave that to the discretion of the department. Okay, so in terms of, is there a motion to find that a violation occurred at 205 Borough Street Liquors on November 16th, 2022?
So moved.
2021.
I'm sorry?
2021, November 16, 2021.
2021.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to accept the facts that, as stated on the record and as outlined on the documents, and accepting these documents and the facts on the documents as evidence? Notice of violation for Borough Street Liquors dated 11/17/21. Minimum age purchase law compliance check field report filed 11/16/20, dated 11, I'm like on autopilot, 16/21, and then receipt of Borough Street Liquors on 11/16/21.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and is there a motion, any discussion on the consequence?
Oh, motion for appropriate remedy to be the training session for Mr. Vu, to attend the training session on March 10th, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great,
Thank you.
you are all set.
Thank you.
And, closing the evidentiary portion of this hearing.
It's closed.
Okay,
Hearing's closed.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are done. Thank you.
Thank you.
So can we take Tom, we have to wait until 7:30?
Yes.
So can we go into recess and just,
Sure thing.
instead of having everybody sit and watch us sit here for 25 minutes?
I would say that would
So
maybe be
I
appropriate.
move to,
This hearing's over, so I can pause the
That's true.
That's correct.
Zoom stream, or just keep Zoom on, I don't know.
no, I think I'd pause it, so we're not sitting here, but I'd make a motion to recess until 7:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we let,
Hi, baby.
no, go,
Oh, black.
black, please.
I don't know if you watched that. So that little Grogu.
No. Yeah. I was going to say it earlier, but then I didn't know if it was a preference. That's like, are we live? Sorry. We're all set? Okay,
Ally,
great.
are we good?
Well, I'm not doing anything. Do you guys are turning the video on Zoom too?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, we are back. Peter, do you want to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to open the public hearing for the Swampscott Select Board, acting as the town's licensing board, to hold a show cause public hearing to hear the following charges regarding all alcohol, Section 12, on-premises license issued to the premises located at 146 Humphrey Street, Swampscott, Mass., serving alcohol to a minor on November 16, 2021, as part of a routine Swampscott Police Department alcohol compliance check.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Okay.
good evening. Could we just have everybody identify
Yes.
themselves? Sorry, thank you. Hi.
For the record, my name is Attorney Ken Chancellor. I'm here on behalf of Jan's China Bistro. I'm here with Karen Lynn, the manager. I'm also here with Lan Yun Lin, who is the sister of Karen Lynn, who works as the manager at Jan's China Bistro.
Great. Thanks for being here.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, I have spoken to Attorney Schutzer, and it's my understanding that his client will stipulate that the violation did in fact take place and that alcohol was sold to an underage individual on the November 16th, 2021, and during a compliance check that was conducted by the Swampscott Police Department. In light of that, the only other documents, I guess I would just ask that Attorney Schutzer confirm that that's the case.
That is correct.
Okay.
And we will stipulate to the documents to be approved.
And I
Great,
have
thank
three
you.
documents, again, same as in the other cases, the notice of violation, the alcohol, the minimum age purchase
Elena.
law compliance check field report, and the receipt from the purchase.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you. Okay, and you obviously have seen these and received a copy. Okay, great. Okay, is there anything, you don't feel like you have to say anything, but if you want
I would
to.
like to.
Yep.
I would like to, if I could. I've known Karen Lynn since 2000, and probably 7, maybe even before that. And I remember appearing before Mr. Spelios when I presented this matter to the then Zoning Board of Appeals, because at that time, all special permits for all businesses required approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals. At that time, Karen had recently immigrated from China, and shortly thereafter became an American citizen, probably quicker than anyone I know. And I'm only telling you this because of my sheer amazement at how anyone could accomplish that. And here this evening, there's a similarity, and I just wanted to share that with you, and that's, I see these children here, and anyone who's ever been to Jan's China Bistro has always seen either one of Karen's or her sister's children there. And that was the only way that they could conduct business, because it was very hard. It was difficult to be a caregiver as well as a proprietor. On the evening in question, and this was actually brought to my attention when I was talking to Detective Delado, who knows an awful lot of what was going on, he said, you know, what happened was I think your client was assisting her daughter in a visual meeting with the school at the time that we came in. I wasn't even aware of that. And she was trying to run around. She was also trying to bring food from the kitchen out to the patrons, as well as bussing the tables. I understand how difficult it is, and that appreciation of the difficulty is not an excuse, and it was never intended to be. But it really is a showing of the kind of people that you have in Swampscott, the kind of proprietors that you have that are trying their very best to do their very best. And it wasn't necessary. I understand that. I've witnessed 3 other hearings, but it's something I really want you to know, and it's something that I think the town should know. It's something that I'm very proud of, and I think we all are. For 15 years, we've operated that restaurant. This is the first occasion that we've had this issue. As a matter of fact, I think it was probably 10 years ago, I got a call from Karen saying, there was a sting, and we were one of the only restaurants that weren't caught. And, it was like, she was so proud of that. And as I realized later on, even the best skilled and the most concerned proprietors and managers and busing people can make a mistake. And that's what happened. And we asked for your indulgence. We understand that there is a training seminar that's scheduled on March the 10th. Both Karen and Lan Yun are desirous to be in attendance. They're both have received the TIP training and have gone through the course, obviously, to be managers and be able to serve. But it just never hurts to be and to learn more and to be on their guard. One last thing I'll just bring your attention. One of the things they learned at the TIP training was the ability to have a visual observation of the customer. They didn't want to start carding 70-year-old people. It was not necessary because they could immediately tell how old they were. And I think it was either between 30 or 35 was sort of the cutoff period. Judgments are made, and judgments are oftentimes wrong. And I guess in the future, the judgment will be, we really should be carding everybody. And the worst they could say to us is, can't you see, I'm over 21, and I guess
Some of us would take it as a compliment.
That's not the worst thing in the world either. I think, a lot of people take it as a compliment. So that's sort of what we have to say, and we wanted to just give you a little bit of background and let you know that we appreciate what's happened. And more than anything, I truly appreciate the attitude of the Swampscott Police Department. When I spoke to Mr. Delano, who I've known for years, it was we're not here to hurt anybody. We're here to educate. And I think that is the clarion message that needs to get through, that what our department is doing, because we're appreciative of that, and there's really no ill will at all. And just thank you for the opportunity. I'm not going to take up your full half an hour. I see that no one else has, and I promised both Tom as well as others that I wouldn't do it, even though I know Peter knows me to be quite loquacious. I didn't mean to be, but I just wanted this opportunity to tell you a little bit about them.
Yeah, no, it's great to get to know a little bit of your story.
I don't talk as much as your town administrator, but I try.
You're being modest.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Attorney McNay, I assume you have nothing else to add?
I have nothing further to add.
Okay, so is there a motion to find that a violation occurred at Yan's China Bistro on November 16th, 2021? Yeah.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And is there a motion to enter the facts as stated on the record by the parties and as entered into evidence through the documents provided by Attorney McEnany? The notice of violation dated 11/17/21, the minimum age purchase law compliance check field report dated 11/16/21, I'm guessing if it's right as the other one, yeah. And then the receipt dated 11/16/21.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and
Yeah, I motion that Karen and Lan Young, representatives for Jan's China Bistro, the remedy should be attendance of the March 10th, 2022 training session.
right, there's that.
9:30 a.m., I believe. 9:30? Yes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Good night.
Thanks for coming, thank you. That closes the evidentiary portion of the hearing, which I've blown every single
That's
time.
okay. Yeah.
Do I need to, I have not been closing the public hearings.
No, it's fine. The board has voted and made a decision,
So it's
which
closed.
would be.
A natural close, okay.
Motion.
Thank you to Attorney McEnany.
Thank you.
Anything we need to do with, in terms of formalities of,
So the only formality would be is that the town will need to have decisions issued.
yep, right,
Which
and we have
you can
copies.
sign as the chair. I have already taken the liberty of preparing draft decisions,
Yeah.
which are not complete, obviously, because it was going to depend on what would happen this evening.
Yep.
But I did forward those to Ally for filling in the blanks, and if Ally's unable to get to it before she departs tomorrow, Angelica is going to be handling that, and I'll be happy to assist as necessary.
Great. Okay. And then does she enter like, where do these go and how are they marked, or they're not?
They can go in, just as part of the meeting minutes for this evening.
Okay.
I don't believe that you would really need any kind of separate filing mechanism for them. They don't need to be attached to the decision or anything like that. They're just part of the record.
Okay.
Tonight's meeting, same as if it was any other open meeting.
So they're just in order here. And then Chief Kerr's, this is not evidence, it's just,
No, I didn't. put it in.
Example.
I don't know what that is.
okay. I think we received a copy anyway.
Okay.
So,
Letter recognizing all the compliant businesses.
Oh,
So
okay.
Thank you.
An
Just an
a sample,
acknowledgement.
yeah.
I see. No, and I know the chief obviously spoke about that, but,
Yeah.
yeah, there was no, I don't believe there was a
You wouldn't
formal
have, but,
exhibit
yeah.
that was submitted, but
He just spoke to it. Yep. Okay, that's great. So, Ally, I'll give you these. And you can leave them on your desk, whatever you're going to do. Detective Delano, thank you so much for being here. Angela, thank you so much for being here. I hope you get to sleep.
Thank you both. Yeah.
You will, yeah. Follow my routine, you'll be all set. And Tom, Attorney McEnany, thank you very much.
thank you.
All right.
See everybody.
Yeah, you too. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Thank you,
Night.
Ally.
Night. Thanks,
And the
Ally.
peop- and the
Hold on.
students in the back. Thank you.